This is something that last time happened maybe around 6 years back. But to do that DNS change, you need the dashboard, Cloudflare dashboard to be up. And that was also not accessible for a lot of people. They are very brave to have come up with the whole explanation. Not a lot of people actually do that. And if you are a web developer, it's pretty evident when these issues happen, the time just flies. Something really crazy happened on 18th of November. This is something that was last time happened maybe around 6 years back. But at this scale, I don't think so, because I've been using Cloudflare for more than 10 years now. And this is the first of its kind outage that I have seen. Thanks to the Cloudflare team, they were quick to come up with an RCA and they have got into quite detail of what exactly went wrong. So on November 18th, around 11:20, customers started reporting issues. So I was also using one of my customers' Cloudflare website at that time, and it suddenly started returning 500. People started complaining about 500 errors. People started complaining about the site going slow and all sorts of things. By the way, for me, it was loading intermittently. Sometimes it was loading, sometimes it was slow, sometimes there were 500 errors. So this is one of the pages that I saw, the errors basically. One thing was quite different all the time, which I have never seen on Cloudflare side. This was the particular part, which got me thinking, right? Initially, for the first 5-10 minutes, I thought something is wrong on the customer's end, right? Maybe the service is crashing or something is wrong. Then I tried multiple services which are behind Cloudflare. Everything they were running 500. I was confused. What exactly happened? So Kubernetes cluster that we were running, we checked it very thoroughly, and we went to the outage, the Cloudflare status website. No news. This was around 11:20 UTC only, maybe 10 minutes before or during that time. Pretty close, but yeah, no news so far from Cloudflare, and everyone is confused at this point. But this is what made me thinking, why would this error message show up, and that too with a 500? And if you are a web developer, it's pretty evident, like when you're seeing 500, something is breaking somewhere. With this particular diagram, it clearly showed that something is breaking on Cloudflare's end itself. Now they have come up with something. They said that the issue was not caused via a cyber attack, which initially was the Cloudflare's team thought that they have been attacked and all of this is happening due to an attack. So initial hypothesis was that, and initial investigation actually went in that direction. They have called it out in the blog as well. But eventually they figured out that this was due to larger than expected feature file which was propagated across all the machines. Why the feature file is needed, they have their bot management system which requires that feature file. So we'll get into more details. Every request that you send as a customer, as a client to Cloudflare, essentially the website that you have behind Cloudflare is here. Anyway, the client, if they want, they can reach to it directly. But you put Cloudflare in between so that you have all sorts of caching, SSL termination, and all fancy stuff. Now that's where your request enters the Cloudflare network. You have the SSL termination happening, and after that, there's a lot of magic that Cloudflare brings into the picture. The WAF that they bring in, bot protection that they bring in, DOS protection that they bring in, and all sorts of fancy stuff. That happens because your requests go through the complex web of software that they have, which includes a bunch of things. So they have rate limiting features, they have WAF, they have bots and more. So they call this entire layer as frontline. And after the filtering and everything happens in the frontline, so depending on which customer the request has come for, FL, the frontline layer, is going to query the database and stuff, find out the information, obviously not per request, obviously. Cloudflare can't query the database per request, but there's a syncing mechanism, and let's say they query the database and decide what rules to apply, what actions to perform, and the request gets filtered accordingly, and after filtering gets into the origin. That's the overall flow, and understanding this flow is very important because that will give us answers to what exactly went wrong. So let's get back to the story. At 11:20 the incident started and a lot of customers started noticing. At 14:30 is when they have actually resolved the issue, which took them 3 or 10 minutes, surprisingly too long. This is where it started, and they started seeing it intermittently. So sometimes, even while I was debugging, I could see that sometimes the issue, it would go away, but then suddenly on the next request it would come up. So it was sort of an intermittent thing, and which you can see in the graphs here as well. They did see it. I think at around 13:07 or close to that is when they identified. So they have a detailed timeline at the bottom of the page. So they have the timeline here. 11:05 is when they actually made some change into the system, which is exactly what caused the outage. At 11:05, you deploy the change. 11:28 is when they say the impact started, although customers are saying it started before that. I think that's when they discovered and acknowledged that it's an outage. It took them about 10-15 minutes, as far as I know, to identify that. Then obviously, they would have involved their on-call engineers, things would have started, and they did the investigation. And at around 1.5 hours later is they identified that they had some sort of an idea. At this time also they were not sure what exactly was wrong. So from their report, it seems like still they are, and in 13:05 also they are looking at a workers KV service. So they have still not got to the root. So I'm not sure why they're focusing on the workers KV service. Probably that was the one which had the maximum impact. So at 1305, they are saying that they used internal system bypass for workers KV and Cloudflare access. So they went to prior version of 4 proxies. They were actually in the process of migrating from their frontline version 1 to frontline version 2. That's what I understood. And they sort of rolled back to the frontline one because frontline one had reduced impact is what they have called out in the blog as well. 2.5 hours almost through, and that is when we're realizing the root cause. I mean, everyone's in panic. I have been in those situations, so I can understand. Even though 2.5 hours seems like a long time, trust me, when these issues happen, the time just flies. All the engineering and our leadership team, everyone is very stressed at this moment, and time flies pretty fast. And then once they identified that it was the configuration file which was causing the problem, of course, the obvious action is just roll back the file and ship the new file, which is a bit smaller, and started looking at the impact getting mitigated, right? So 1430, they start to see that impact coming down drastically. Cloudflare is a collection of large number of servers. They have multiple edge nodes. The changes that they don't like straight away go onto these edge nodes. They go in phases. When the change happens, suddenly there are a lot of errors happening. Your server gets fixed, and suddenly tons of requests come in at it. And then that server gets overwhelmed again and again keeps falling. So this is the problem where, there's no way to cut off. You cannot stop users from sending in traffic, right? Unless you just plug it out of the network. So, you bring the servers up, requests come in, and the crash starts again. So it is very difficult to bring in servers in situations like these. So that's why, I'm sure once they started bringing in the mitigation and then traffic started coming in, they started sort of seeing that kind of a loop. And that's why it took them a lot of time to sort of get everything in a healthy shape. So from 1430 to 17 is when everything went to normal, right? So that is almost 2.5 hours. And 2.5 hours is obviously not a lot of time. I mean, given the scale at which Cloudflare operates, of identifying the issue to going through all the nodes, I'm sure they must have done a lot of magic to even get this working. Deep dive into what exactly happened to understand, what at scale, how very small things can cause an outage like these. I'm sure Cloudflare would have never anticipated and this can happen. They are very brave to have come up with the whole explanation. Not a lot of people actually do that. So it's actually good that they have come out, and I really like the fact. And they have really given very detailed information. So let's try to study that and find out what exactly happened. So they mentioned that one of the modules, which is bot management, was source of the outage. So as you can see here, this is the front line, as they call it, right? This is where all the magic at Cloudflare happens. So bot management, as they say amongst other systems, includes a machine learning model that obviously they use to generate bot scores. So, when Cloudflare offers you bot protection, every request when it goes to the system, they sort of analyze that request and see if it is a bad request or a good request, should it be blocked or not blocked, and they assign it a score. And all the decisions of blocking and not blocking are taken on the basis of that score. So obviously at edge, this has to happen at the edge. Tons of requests coming in. So this has to happen really, really fast. So this piece of code has to be really efficient because there's machine learning involved, as well as there's scale, like a huge traffic coming in. So it has to be really, really fast. So this is a very critical service for sure. The model that they use in this bot management tool takes as input a feature configuration file. Any machine learning model that sort of depends on set of features. Features essentially come to the bot management service as a file. Basically, the bot management will be running somewhere on different nodes. So all the edge servers, they'll be running the bot management software. And this bot management software, when it boots up, it probably picks up the file from somewhere, right? So that file serves as the source of truth of what exactly needs to be done. Probably it just fetches on the fly and then caches it. So all of those things can happen. But the bottom line is that it fetches a certain set of features and then uses those for calculations, basically. Now they are mentioning that this feature file is refreshed every 5 minutes and is published to their entire network. The features that they use to calculate if a request is bad, that can include X number of factors, and that changes dynamically because bots are all smart. They keep adapting. So Cloudflare also has to adapt. That's why they keep refreshing this very frequently. Cloudflare said that they store these configurations, the feature mappings, in a ClickHouse DB. And they made some changes to the logic with which they used to fire ClickHouse query. So basically, they've given quite a lot of detail. Let's see if we can handle some of that. Before this incident happened, they used to run all user queries under a shared system account. That query sort of in ClickHouse, that will trigger all the shards and then get the data and return the results. There's a default DB at the top. This is not exactly where the data is stored. Actually, data is stored at the R0 tables, which are the shards essentially. Before the change, when they used to run a query on ClickHouse, with the default system account that used to return them a data like this, single user agent, IP address, timestamp, and whatever. These are basically features, you can say. After they changed the permission, they started getting duplicates. They started getting the data from different databases, or you can say different shards, which was not what was expected. Nobody anticipated. I'm not sure. It could have been caught with the integration tests, or this could have been caught with unit tests. I'm not sure. I'm not speculating anything here. But this is what happened. So they started getting multiple data points. So that's why the place where they expected 60 rows, they started getting 200 plus rows. And the bot management software, which was in Rust basically, is started panicking because of that. So by panic, I mean maybe it tried to pre-allocate a lot of memory or do some other stuff, and it was beyond what they could support. And that resulted to panic in the software. So that's what they have mentioned. So here they have mentioned that the different features, duplicates that they started seeing. Feature 1, feature 2 all became duplicates, right? And then they have a memory pre-allocation logic based on features, which allows the bot management software probably to be more optimal, pre-allocate memory so that it can run faster. And they have also shared the code snippet and exact line where the panic started happening, which is quite interesting. And then because of that exact error, you triggered 500. So request is coming in, something happened, internal server error. I enjoyed reading through it and I highly recommend everyone to read this blog to deep dive into the details. Funny thing happened actually during the incident. So I also thought, we can do it. So basically, people who were routing traffic via Cloudflare thought that they could just change the name servers or maybe they just change the DNS records. And that way they can just bypass Cloudflare's proxy, start sending traffic directly to the origin. The traffic is going via Cloudflare. So they thought, let's just change the DNS records and let's directly start hitting the origin. But to do that DNS change, you need the dashboard, Cloudflare dashboard to be up. And that was also not accessible for a lot of people. So all the people had fancy ideas, they were not able to implement them. And Cloudflare has come out with a list of services that were impacted by the outage. So there were the core DNS and security services. I mean, everything was returning 500 when the request were getting in. Turnstile got impacted. Dashboard, as I said, was they say mostly operational because it was apparently using frontline 2, and they moved it to frontline 1 or something. I'm not very clear about that part, but the impact was still minimal comparatively. But although for me, I was not able to change the DNS settings, so I'm not sure what exactly happened there, and other features. So they've given very good timeline of the whole journey for DevOps engineers who are just getting started. I mean, this is how you write RCA report. This is fantastic, very well written, a very well articulated, points covered in detail, incident timelines, everything. So this is for the external folks, but I'm sure the internal one would be quite a thing, to read. So I wish there was more information, but this is all we have. So go through the blog, read out, and please let me know your queries as well. It was fun reading this and looking forward to see you guys again soon. Thank you.